ladies and gentlemen, your future is not just wrapped up in your talent. It is not only tied to your education, your background, or even your resources. Your future is wrapped up in the way you think. You can be gifted and still bound. You can be skilled and still stagnant. You can be surrounded by opportunities and still stuck because your thoughts have become your prison. The battlefield is not out there. The battlefield is in your mind. The enemy doesn't have to chain your hands if he can chain your head. If he can keep you believing you're not enough, if he can keep you rehearsing your failures, if he can convince you that your past defines you, then you will never walk into the doors already open for you. As a man thinks, so is he. Your thoughts are painting the portrait of your destiny. Every time you say, I can't, you're signing a contract with limitation. Every time you think, this is impossible, you're closing the door on opportunity. When you shift your mind, when you renew your thoughts, when you dare to believe that greater is ahead of you, your life begins to align with your vision. You cannot live above the level of your thinking. If your mind is small, your world will be small. If your thoughts are negative, your future will be poisoned. When your thoughts expand, when your imagination is stretched, when you dare to dream bigger than where you are right now, your future starts to break open like a seed that refuses to stay buried. Stop waiting for people to change before you change your thinking. Stop waiting for the economy, the government, your boss, your family, your past, your circumstances. The future God has placed in you responds to your thoughts. It listens to the language of your mind. You've got to start talking differently, seeing differently, believing differently, because your thoughts are either your passport to freedom or the chains to your captivity. Your mind is the steering wheel of your destiny. If you don't like where your life is going, grab the wheel and turn it. Stop letting fear drive you. Stop letting doubt direct you. Stop letting insecurity navigate you. Decide today to let faith, vision, and courage be the drivers of your tomorrow. Your thoughts are not harmless whispers in your mind. They are the architects of your future, the builders of your tomorrow, the designers of the life you will either rejoice in or regret. Every dream begins in the mind. Every failure begins in the mind. Every triumph, every defeat, every possibility, and every limitation, they are all born in the place no one else can see: your thoughts. You may not recognize it. Your mind is constantly writing the blueprint of your life. What you think today is building the house you will live in tomorrow. If your thoughts are weak, your future will be weak. If your thoughts are broken, your destiny will be broken. But if your thoughts are strong, resilient, visionary, and filled with belief, then your destiny will rise as high as the greatness of your thinking. So many people blame the world around them for where they are in life. They point to the economy, their background, their family, their lack of support, or the challenges they have faced. But the truth is, the greatest battle is not external. The greatest struggle is internal. You can be surrounded by wealth and still live in poverty if your mind is poor. You can be given opportunities but never rise to them if your thoughts are locked in chains of doubt. You can have talent and skill yet never succeed if your thinking convinces you that you are unworthy. Your thoughts are powerful because they set the limits of what you believe is possible. If you think small, your future will shrink to fit your thoughts. If you think fear, your future will be filled with hesitation. If you think failure, your future will echo defeat. But if you think possibilities, your future will open up like a sunrise breaking through the clouds. If you think strength, your life will align with power. If you think victory, you will walk into doors others thought were impossible. You cannot escape the harvest of your thoughts. Every thought is a seed. You may not see the results immediately, but give it time and your life will always grow in the direction of your thinking. Negative thoughts grow weeds of discouragement, despair, and stagnation. Positive, disciplined, and faith-filled thoughts grow trees of progress, peace, prosperity. What you sow in your mind will determine what you reap in your life. This is why you cannot afford to let toxic thinking dominate your mind. Thoughts of, I'm not enough, it's too late, I'll never change, I can't succeed. These are lies that slowly choke your destiny. They sound small, but they are dangerous. Because if you think them long enough, you will live them. But when you dare to change your thoughts, when you begin to declare within yourself, I can do this, I was created for more, my best is still ahead, I will rise, I will not quit, something begins to shift. You may not see it instantly, but you are rewiring your destiny one thought at a time. Look at the people who have accomplished great things. Their stories are not free from pain, obstacles, or setbacks. Many of them started with less than what you have, but they thought differently. Where others saw failure, they saw opportunity. Where others saw rejection, they saw redirection. Where others saw impossibility, they saw an invitation to create a new path. The greatness of their life was built first in the greatness of their thinking. Your destiny will not be determined by luck or chance. It will be determined by whether or not you master your thoughts. You can choose to think yourself into courage or to think yourself into fear. You can think yourself into discipline or think yourself into excuses. You can think yourself into progress or think yourself into procrastination. The choice is always yours because your thoughts are the steering wheel of your future. If you don't like where your life is right now, stop looking first at the circumstances around you. Start looking at the thoughts within you. Ask yourself, what am I telling myself every day? What words am I allowing to live rent-free in my head? What story am I rehearsing when no one else is watching? Because those silent conversations are shaping the loud reality of your tomorrow. You may say, but my past is too heavy. I've made too many mistakes. My failures disqualify me. No, that's just another thought trying to chain you. Your past may explain you, but it cannot define you unless you allow your thoughts to keep dragging it into your present. When you change your thoughts, you can rise above your history. When you renew your mind, you can rewrite your future. And listen, your destiny is too important to be left to negative thinking. You were created with purpose. You were designed with greatness in you. But if your thoughts keep telling you that you are less than who you really are, you will never live up to the masterpiece you are meant to be. Life will never rise higher than your mindset. Your thinking is the thermostat of your destiny. If your mind is set on mediocrity, you will live in mediocrity. But when your mind is set on excellence, growth, vision, and possibility, your life will rise to match it. So today, make the decision to guard your thoughts. Don't let just anything settle in your mind. Protect your imagination like it is sacred soil, because it is. Don't allow fear, doubt, and negativity to plant seeds that will grow into your future. Feed your mind with vision, with faith, with courage, with inspiration. Surround yourself with people who speak life, not death. Expose yourself to voices and ideas that lift you higher, because whatever enters your mind today will show up in your life tomorrow. Understand this. Your thoughts create the framework of your destiny. They are the skeleton upon which your future is built. You can't build a palace with broken blueprints. You can't live a life of greatness with thoughts of defeat. But when you discipline your thinking, you choose to focus on what builds you instead of what breaks you, you are constructing a destiny that will not collapse under the weight of time. Do not underestimate the power of one thought. One idea can shift the entire course of your life. One decision to believe in yourself can open doors you never imagined. One moment of courage in your thinking can ignite a lifetime of destiny. You are only one renewed thought away from stepping into the future you were born for. So rise up today and take responsibility for your mind. Stop letting old lies, old fears, old mistakes, and old doubts decide your future. Choose today to think higher, think stronger, think bolder. For as your thoughts rise, so will your life. As your thinking expands, so will your destiny. And when your mind begins to believe in the greatness within you, nothing, no person, no failure, no past, no obstacle can stop the future that belongs to you. The greatest wars are not fought with swords or guns. They are not decided in boardrooms, courtrooms, or even on the streets. The greatest war is fought in a place no one else can see, in the hidden chamber of your thoughts. The mind is the true battlefield. Before you win in life, you must win in your mind. And before you lose in life, the defeat always begins first in your thoughts. So many people walk through life unaware that the enemy is not just around them, it is within them. The mind is where fear is born. The mind is where doubt takes root. The mind is where insecurity builds its fortress. You don't lose because the world is against you. You lose because your mind convinces you that you're not strong enough to win. And if your thoughts surrender, your future will follow. Every great achievement in history started with a thought. Someone dared to imagine what others thought impossible. They envisioned what did not exist. Because their mind embraced the possibility, their hands made it reality. But the same is true for every downfall. Before a person gives up, they first talk themselves into quitting. Before someone wastes their potential, they first convince themselves they have none. The mind is the place where destiny is either secured or sabotaged. The mind is the true battlefield because it is the gatekeeper of your life. What you allow to stay in your thoughts will eventually take shape in your actions. If you keep entertaining fear, fear will guide your decisions. If you keep replaying your failures, your future will be held hostage by yesterday's mistakes. If you keep feeding on negativity, your perspective will be poisoned and you'll never see opportunities, even when they're right in front of you. This is why discipline of the mind is more powerful than discipline of the body. You can force your body to act for a while, but if your thoughts don't change, you'll always return to the level of your mindset. A person can escape a prison cell and still live imprisoned if their mind has not been freed. Another can be surrounded by chains, but if their mind is liberated, they will walk in freedom even in the midst of struggle. The true chains are not the ones on your hands, they are the ones on your head. Your mind is not neutral ground, it is contested territory. Every day, voices are competing for control of your thoughts. Fear is whispering, "You'll never make it." Faith is whispering, "You can do all things." Doubt is screaming, "You're too weak." Hope is declaring, "You are stronger than you think." The question is, which voice will you feed? Which one will you believe? Because whichever voice you agree with will win the battle and shape your life. If you're going to conquer in life, you've got to conquer in your mind. You cannot think defeat and live in victory. You cannot think weakness and walk in strength. You cannot think limitation and experience abundance. Life bends in the direction of your dominant thoughts. If you want to change your life, you must first change your mind. Your mind will not change itself. Left unchecked, it will always drift to fear, to worry, to negativity, to self-doubt. You must take responsibility for what grows in your thoughts. You are the gardener of your own mental landscape. If you don't pull out the weeds of fear, they will overrun your future. If you don't water the seeds of faith, they will dry up before they ever grow. You cannot be passive with your mind. You must be intentional. How many battles have you lost simply because you didn't believe you could win? How many opportunities slipped through your fingers because you told yourself you weren't good enough? How many dreams died? Not because they weren't possible, but because your mind surrendered before the fight even began. The mind is the command center of your life. Whatever controls your thinking controls your living. If fear dominates your mind, fear will dictate your choices. If negativity rules your thoughts, negativity will rule your future. But when faith rises in your thinking, when courage takes over your perspective, vision sits in the throne of your imagination. Your life will begin to align with greatness. This is why guarding your mind is so crucial. Don't just let anything settle there. Don't let toxic voices dictate your story. Don't allow your mind to become a trash can for doubt, gossip, fear, or discouragement. Protect your thoughts like they are priceless treasures, because they are. Your future is wrapped up in your thinking, and if you lose the battle in your mind, you will lose the battle in your life. But the good news is this: you can win this war. You can discipline your mind. You can renew your thinking. You can choose what thoughts you accept and what thoughts you reject. You may not control every thought that enters. You do control which ones you allow to stay. A bird may fly over your head, but you don't have to let it build a nest in your hair. In the same way, fear may come knocking, but you don't have to give it a permanent room in your mind. Victory begins with awareness. The moment you realize that your mind is the true battlefield, you stop blaming everything else and start focusing on what matters most. You stop saying, "If only they would support me," and start saying, "I will strengthen my thoughts." You stop saying, "If only circumstances were different," and start saying, If I change my mind, my circumstances will follow. The most dangerous prison is the one you don't know you're in. Many people live bound not because the world locked them up, but because their mind convinced them they could never escape. Don't live that way. Break free. Guard your thoughts. Train your mind. Win in the place no one else can see, and your future will testify the victory that began in silence. Remember, every battle in life is won or lost in the mind first. When you rise each day, prepare for war, not out there, but in here. Win the fight against fear. Win the fight against doubt. Win the fight against negativity. Win the fight against insecurity. Because when you win in your mind, external enemy can defeat you. There are prisons you can see made of concrete walls, steel bars, and locked gates. There are other prisons more dangerous, more destructive, that have no walls, no bars, no guards, and yet they keep millions bound every single day. These are the prisons of the mind, and the key that locks those prisons tight is negative thinking. Negative thinking builds invisible prisons. You don't see the chains, but you feel them every time you shrink back from an opportunity. You don't see the walls, but you run into them every time you try to dream beyond where you are. You don't see the locks. They hold you hostage every time you convince yourself that your future will never be brighter than your past. The tragedy of these prisons is that they are self-made. They don't need guards because the prisoner becomes the jailer, the person who thinks, I can't, will never try. The one who says, I'm not enough, will never rise. The one who repeats, life is always against me, will never even notice the doors of possibility standing wide open. The mind becomes both the cell and the sentence. This is why negative thinking is so dangerous. It disguises itself as reality. It whispers, I'm just being honest. I'm just being practical, just being realistic. But the truth is, most of what we call realistic is nothing more than a fear dressed up in logical clothing. Negative thinking convinces you that your chains are permanent, your failures are final, and your struggles are unbeatable. And if you believe that, you'll stop fighting, stop dreaming, and stop moving forward. Think about it. How many people never stepped into their calling because their thoughts told them, you're not smart enough? How many gifts have gone unused because someone's mind kept repeating, nobody will care? How many lives have been wasted in regret because the voice of negativity was louder than the whisper of possibility? Negative thinking builds invisible prisons because it rewires the way you see the world. Instead of seeing doors, you see walls. Instead of seeing opportunities, you see obstacles. Instead of seeing growth, you see failure before it even happens. You begin to sabotage yourself before the enemy ever has a chance to try. The saddest part, you don't even realize you're holding the keys in your own hand. A person with negative thinking can sit in a room full of opportunities and still feel trapped. They can be surrounded by people who believe in them, still feel worthless. They can be given resources, connections, and tools, and still convince themselves they are empty-handed. Prison of the mind is the cruelest kind of captivity because the chains are invisible, but the consequences are undeniable. Just as negative thinking builds prisons, positive and disciplined thinking builds freedom. When you change your thoughts, you start tearing down invisible walls. When you choose to believe in possibilities, you start unlocking doors that fear had closed. When you dare to see yourself as capable, gifted, and worthy, you start stepping into life that had been waiting on you all along. It begins with awareness. You must first recognize that every negative thought is a brick in the prison wall. Every time you say, I'll never, you're stacking another stone. Every time you declare, I can't, you're tightening the chains. Every time you think, it's impossible, you're painting the bars that surround your future. The only way to stop building the prison is to refuse to give negative thinking free rent in your mind. Your life is too valuable to waste behind invisible bars. Your destiny is too great to stay locked in by self-imposed chains. You were not created to live in confinement. You were created to live in freedom, in growth, in progress, in destiny. You will never experience it until you confront the toxic thoughts that keep you bound. When you think negatively about yourself, you are aligning your life with a lie. You are agreeing with voices that were never meant to define you. Maybe someone told you years ago that you weren't good enough and you've been repeating it to yourself ever since. Maybe circumstances beat you down and you began to believe that defeat was your destiny. But those are lies, and as long as you believe them, you will live as though they are truth. The invisible prison doesn't collapse by itself. It collapses when you stand up in your mind and say, no more. No more believing lies about who I am. No more letting fear write my future. No more allowing doubt to dictate my decisions. No more surrendering my dreams to negativity. I will not let my mind become my jailer. I will think thoughts that free me, not thoughts that bind me. Freedom begins with a shift in perspective. Instead of saying, I can't, start saying, I'll try. Instead of saying, it's impossible, start saying, with effort, it might be possible. Instead of rehearsing your failures, start remembering your victories. Instead of focusing on what you don't have, start being grateful for what you do. Because gratitude breaks the back of negativity and faith silences the voice of fear. And don't miss this. Your thoughts don't just affect your future, they affect the people around you. Negative thinking doesn't just imprison you. It can imprison your family, your friends, your team, your community. When you carry chains in your mind, you will often handcuff the people connected to you. When you break free in your thinking, you open doors for others to walk through as well. Your life is too short, your calling too important, your potential too great to waste another day behind invisible bars. Tear down the walls, break the chains, refuse the lies, fill your mind with faith, courage, vision, and truth. Because when your thoughts are free, your life will be free. Negative thinking builds invisible prisons, but positive, disciplined, courageous thinking tears them down. Step out of your mental cell today and walk boldly into the destiny that was waiting for you all along. Transformation is not just about changing habits, changing locations, or changing circumstances. True transformation is deeper than that. It does not begin with a new job, a new relationship, a new city, or even a new year. True transformation begins with renewed thinking. Until the mind shifts, nothing else will permanently shift. You can change the surface of your life, but if your thoughts remain the same, your life will always drift back to the same patterns, the same cycles, the same struggles. This is why so many people feel stuck. They try to change their behavior, but their beliefs don't change. They attempt to start fresh, but their old mindset follows them like a shadow. You can't build a new life with old thoughts. You can't create a new future with a recycled mentality. You can't rise to your destiny while thinking with the language of defeat. Transformation will always elude you until you renew the way you think. The mind is the control center of your life. It is the filter through which you see the world. If your filter is clouded, everything looks distorted. If your filter is broken, everything feels broken. If your filter is filled with negativity, you will see problems everywhere, even when opportunities are staring at you. But when your mind is renewed, your perspective changes, and with it, your life begins to shift in powerful ways. Renewed thinking means letting go of the old lies that have held you hostage. Lies like, I'll never be good enough. This is just the way I am. My past defines my future. I can't change. Those thoughts are chains. They sound convincing, but they are prisons that keep you from the life you were created to live. Transformation requires you to challenge those lies and replace them with truth. Transformation does not happen by accident. It begins with a decision, the decision to think differently. It's deciding that you will no longer be defined by your failures, but by your potential. It's deciding that you will not see obstacles as walls, but as stepping stones. It's deciding that you will no longer interpret life through the lens of fear, but through the lens of faith. Renewal of the mind requires intentionality, choosing each day to feed your thoughts with what lifts you higher, what drags you lower. Think about it. You can't pour dirty water into a glass and expect to drink something pure. In the same way, you cannot constantly fill your mind with negativity, gossip, fear, and doubt and expect to live a transformed life. If you want your life to be different, you must pour different thoughts into your mind. Read what elevates you. Listen to voices that inspire you. Surround yourself with people who challenge you to grow, not those who keep you chained to mediocrity. Transformation begins with renewed thinking because your thoughts shape your identity. If you believe you are weak, you will act weak. If you believe you are a failure, you will live like a failure. If you believe you are unworthy, you will settle for less than you deserve. When you begin to believe you are strong, capable, gifted, and destined for greatness, you will begin to carry yourself differently. You will walk into rooms with confidence. You will approach challenges with courage. You will persevere where others give up because you know who you are. Renewed thinking also changes the way you see others. When your mind is filled with fear, you see people as threats. When your mind is filled with insecurity, you see others as competition. When your mind is filled with bitterness, you see people as enemies. But when your mind is renewed, you see people differently. You see allies instead of rivals, lessons instead of enemies, opportunities instead of obstacles. Renewed mind does not just transform you. It transforms your relationships, your leadership, your influence, and your legacy. Transformation is not just about thinking positive, it's about thinking purposeful. It's not empty optimism. It's rooted in the decision to align your mind with truth, vision, and growth. Positive thoughts make you feel good for a moment. Renewed thinking changes who you are becoming. It creates a foundation that your destiny can stand on. Greatest danger is to try to change your life without changing your thoughts. You can change careers, but if your thinking is filled with fear, you will always sabotage opportunities. You can enter a new relationship, but if your thinking is still bound by insecurity, you will repeat the same cycle. You can move to a new city, but if your thoughts are still filled with self-doubt, you will recreate the same struggles in a new place. Without renewed thinking, transformation cannot last. Renewal is a process. It doesn't happen in one day, but it happens daily. Just as your body needs food every day, your mind needs fresh input every day. You must be intentional about what you allow into your thoughts. Are you feeding your mind with doubt or with faith? Are you surrounding yourself with people who tear you down or people who lift you up? Are you rehearsing past failures or are you visualizing future victories? Every choice is shaping the framework of your transformation. Do not underestimate the power of one renewed thought. One new way of thinking can ignite a new way of living. A single decision to think differently can set you on a path you never imagined. When you replace "I can't" with "I will try," when you replace "I'm not enough" with "I am growing every day," when you replace "this is impossible" with "this is challenging, but I'll find a way," you are not just changing words, you are changing your destiny. Transformation begins with renewed thinking because the mind is the soil of your future. Every thought is a seed. The harvest of your life depends on what you plant. If you plant fear, you will reap regret. If you plant doubt, you will reap missed opportunities. If you plant bitterness, you will reap broken relationships. But if you plant courage, you will reap progress. If you plant faith, you will reap victories. If you plant vision, you will reap destiny. The quality of your life will never exceed the quality of your thoughts. The choice is yours. You can remain chained to old thinking, or you can renew your mind and step into transformation. You can keep recycling old excuses, or you can embrace new possibilities. You can stay stuck in the past, or you can build a future that exceeds every expectation. But it all begins in your thoughts. You are not powerless. You are not trapped. You hold the key in your own hand. The key is renewed thinking. When your thoughts change, your words will change. When your words change, your actions will change. When your actions change, your habits will change. When your habits change, your life will be transformed. Transformation does not wait for circumstances to shift. It begins when your mind decides, "I will think differently, I will believe differently, I will see differently, I will live differently." And when you dare to renew your thinking, transformation will no longer be a distant hope. It will become your daily reality. Every journey in life requires direction. If you get into a car without a steering wheel, it doesn't matter how much fuel you have, how powerful the engine is, or how new the tires are, you will not arrive at your destination. The car may move, but it will move without guidance. It will crash, drift, or circle endlessly. The same is true of your life. Your gifts are the engine, your talents are the fuel, your opportunities are the road. Your mind is the steering wheel of your future. If your mind is broken, your future will be directionless. If your mind is not aligned, your destiny will drift. You may have dreams in your heart, visions in your spirit, and potential in your hands, but if your thoughts are toxic, negative, or unfocused, you will never reach the places you were meant to go. Your life cannot rise above the level of your thinking. Where your mind goes, your future follows. Too often, people blame circumstances for where they are in life. They point at their upbringing, their environment, their finances, their family. But the truth is, many times the greatest obstacle is not what is around us, but what is within us. If your mind is steering you toward fear, you will live afraid. If your mind is steering you toward defeat, you will settle for less. If your mind is steering you toward bitterness, you will poison your future. But if your mind is steering you toward vision, courage, and faith, nothing can keep you from the future designed for you. Your mind is constantly turning the wheel of your destiny, whether you recognize it or not. Every thought is a turn in one direction or another. Think long enough about failure, and your life will veer into discouragement. Think long enough about fear, and your path will curve toward regret. Think long enough about what is impossible, and your future will stall in hopelessness. But if you discipline your thoughts, if you renew your mind, if you take hold of the steering wheel and direct it with intention, your life will begin to align with progress, growth, and breakthrough. The danger is when you allow your mind to drift without control. Imagine a driver on the highway who takes their hands off the wheel. The car may stay straight for a moment, but eventually it will swerve, and sooner or later it will collide with something. Life is the same way. If you don't intentionally guide your mind, the pull of negativity, fear, and doubt will steer you into destruction. The currents of the world will always drag you toward the ditch unless you take hold of the wheel and drive with vision. This is why discipline of thought is the greatest discipline of all. You can train your body, but if your mind is undisciplined, you will still drift. You can pursue opportunities, but if your thinking is toxic, you will sabotage them. You can surround yourself with resources. If your mind is steering in the wrong direction, those resources will not save you. The steering wheel decides everything. Two people can face the exact same circumstances and end up with completely different outcomes because their mind steered them differently. One sees the obstacle and turns toward defeat. The other sees the obstacle and turns toward opportunity. One sees rejection and steers toward bitterness. The other sees rejection and steers toward resilience. The difference is not the road, the difference is the wheel. So many people live frustrated because they are pressing the gas pedal of life, but not holding the steering wheel. They are busy, active, constantly moving, not going anywhere meaningful. Activity without direction leads to exhaustion. You don't need to move faster. You need to steer better. You don't need more energy. You need clearer thinking. Because no matter how fast you go, if your mind is steering in the wrong direction, you will still end up in the wrong place. This is why renewing your mind is not optional. It is essential. Your thoughts must be aligned with where you want your life to go. If you desire peace, your mind must steer toward gratitude, hope, and faith. Desire success, your mind must steer toward discipline, growth, and persistence. If you desire fulfillment, your mind must steer toward purpose, service, and love. You cannot drive toward peace while steering your mind with chaos. You cannot drive toward abundance while steering your mind with scarcity. You cannot drive toward destiny while steering your mind with doubt. Your mind is the control center. It responds to the hands of your focus. What you dwell on becomes the path you take. If you constantly replay your past, you will keep steering backward. If you keep meditating on failure, you will keep turning toward defeat. But when you set your thoughts on vision, when you focus on the possibilities ahead, when you discipline your inner dialogue to agree with your destiny, your life will begin to shift direction. Guard your mind like the most valuable steering system in existence, because it is. Be mindful of the voices you let influence your thoughts. Be careful about the words you allow to take root in your imagination. Be selective about the images and ideas you feed your mind with. If garbage enters the system, destruction will follow the path. But if you feed your thoughts with wisdom, courage, and truth, your mind will steer your life toward greatness. And don't underestimate the small turns, the little daily thoughts, the silent inner conversations, the moments of self-talk when no one is watching. Those are the subtle adjustments of your wheel. Just as a driver makes countless small corrections on the road, you must make constant corrections in your thinking. A small negative thought unchecked can drift you miles off course. A small positive correction can put you back on track. The future does not belong to the strongest, the wealthiest, or the most talented alone. It belongs to those who can guide their mind in the direction of destiny. It belongs to those who refuse to let fear steer. It belongs to those who grab the wheel with determination and say, I will not let doubt drive me. I will not let insecurity control me. I will not let negativity dictate my future. I will steer my mind with vision, faith, and courage till my life reaches the destination it was created for. So take hold of your mind today. Don't drift. Don't surrender your wheel to fear, to doubt, to past pain. Grab it with both hands. Direct it with intention. Align it with truth. Because no matter how powerful your engine, no matter how full your tank, no matter how wide the road before you, without your mind steering, you will never arrive.